Welcome friends to a review on the 2025 Lexus RX 450h Plus. This is the plug-in hybrid model, and I've already done a video covering all of the latest changes and updates for the 2025 RX, and also in that video I shared with my audience how they can save a substantial amount of money with the new RX, so I will have that video linked in the description box below. But for right now, let's just get right into my driving impressions. So the plug-in hybrid, it is powered by the 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine. It's mated to this lithium-ion battery pack. The rest of the hybrids in the Lexus RX lineup, like the RX 350h and the Performance RX 500, they both utilize a nickel metal hydride battery pack. And the pure EV range of the RX 450h Plus, it is about 37 miles, which is certainly not bad. However, keep in mind, your total range for this plug-in hybrid, it's going to be similar to the regular RX 350 hybrid, and that's because we have a smaller fuel tank here. A little over 14 gallons, as you see it here, and the rest of the lineup gets slightly over 17 gallons for their fuel tank. But aside from the pure EV range, your fuel economy is going to be very similar to the RX 350h. The combined fuel economy for that is 36 miles per gallon, and the plug-in hybrid gets about 35 mpg combined, so just one off from the regular hybrid. Regarding performance, this plug-in hybrid is the second quickest from 0 to 60 in the lineup. This will do 60 in 6.2 seconds. It's not going to light your world on fire, but for everyday driving, this is certainly potent. I will say the only unrefined characteristic that I noticed when driving this plug-in hybrid is going to be under acceleration. You know, when you're at a stop and you're getting up to speed, that acceleration, that coarse 4-cylinder engine noise, it's not ideal. This engine sound is nowhere near as coarse and annoying as the 2023 RX 350h hybrid that I received for review. That vehicle had a much more obnoxious noise. I mean, the engine sound was almost abrasive to your ears. That's how annoying it was. And that too was a luxury trim level, much like this plug-in hybrid. The RX 450h Plus pretty much comes fully loaded, fully equipped as the top luxury trim level. There's just a few subtle options that you can select, and that's about it. But the engine noise for this plug-in hybrid, it's actually tolerable. And overall, the way the hybrid system in these Toyota Lexus products, the way they work, I don't mind that. I like the way it's tuned and calibrated, the way the engine turns on and off. You barely even notice that, so that's good. We also have the eCVT transmission, along with these paddle shifters. Again, the performance of the eCVT in real-world application is very good, but the paddle shifters are pretty much useless, aside from, you know, maybe if you're doing some mountain driving and you want to do some engine braking, then the downshift paddle can be useful for that purpose. Otherwise, just leave everything in its automatic mode and the vehicle responds perfectly. Now let's go ahead and let's talk about handling and ride. So on average, the plug-in hybrid version that you see here, this is the heaviest version of the RX. It's a little over 4,800 pounds, so about 500 pounds heavier than an all-wheel drive RX 350. And compared to the RX 350h hybrid, it weighs about a little over 300 pounds more than the regular hybrids. But in everyday driving, you don't really notice it. When you push this in the corners, you do get some lean, of course, as expected. You know, this does not offer that precise German levels of handling, and nor do people expect that out of a vehicle like this. Your everyday handling is honestly fine. It's only when you decide to push this in the corners and you want to experience the limits of this, yeah, you're going to notice that this is going to plow through corners. It's going to wash out. It's going to squeal its tires. And I must say, the refinement of the new RX, this plug-in hybrid that I'm checking out, it's really impressive, especially around town. You can be doing, and I'm not exaggerating, about 20 miles over the speed limit and not even realize it. This vehicle does utilize the thicker double pane glass on the front side windows here. So when you are actually doing about 45 miles per hour, this SUV feels absolutely tranquil to drive. It really reduces your blood pressure, at least that's what it feels like. And this is a very relaxing SUV to drive around town. When you get it out on the highway though, that's when you notice a lot more road noise coming through. But due to the thicker glass, you don't get much of that obnoxious wind noise. And I would say for the most part, this is a rather quiet machine. Ride quality is pretty good. We have here the 21-inch wheels with this top-of-the-line plug-in hybrid. And you'll notice some subtle bumps being transmitted through the cabin, through the underfloor, but the seats are so comfortable that you don't really notice it affecting your body per se, if that makes sense. And the steering is pretty light, very easy and effortless. In the sport mode, you kind of notice the steering tighten up just a bit, but really it doesn't make a big difference. This new RX, it's pretty much going for that effortless hovercraft feel. Okay, very light on its toes, but it's, when you ask me, is this worth $70,000? Does it drive like a $70,000 vehicle? I would have to say kind of sort of no. I mean, this kind of feels like a $55,000, $60,000 driving experience. But that being said, there are considerable incentives because this is a plug-in hybrid, about $7,500 in lease cash, I believe, and I talked more about that in my 2025 update video, so make sure to check that out. But overall, it's a good product. Me personally, though, I think if I were interested in this vehicle, I would try to get maybe the RX 350 F Sport in all-wheel drive. An F Sport Lexus product, it pretty much never compromises the ride quality. In fact, it's usually one of the cleaner driving experiences that you can get in the Lexus lineup. So I always encourage shoppers to check out or at least test drive the F Sport. I think a lot of people will be pleasantly surprised with that. Plus, I do like the 6-piston front brakes. Braking performance here is fine though. Plus, I do like the new turbo 4-cylinder engine. I think Lexus did a pretty good job with that. But with that established, let's go ahead and let's talk about this interior space now. Alright, so I've already covered this interior in great detail with my previous RX 350h review, being that this is the exact same trim level, a luxury model. My same thoughts are going to apply here. The overall build quality and solidity of this cabin is rather good. There are no creaks or rattles going on here. Although it doesn't quite have that tank-like sensation, it is still pretty good. The doors feel nice when you open and close them. I like the overall design layout and the different materials that they are using here with the luxury models, like with the suede, the soft touch materials, the leather. I think they did an overall good job of that. And if you're coming from a previous generation Lexus RX, one of the biggest upgrades I've noticed with these new models is certainly going to be the seats, at least in the luxury models. I also like the F Sport seats, but I've noticed that seating comfort is super subjective. I can say that a seat is comfortable and then somebody else comes and they comment that they absolutely despise the seats. So, take that for what you will. But me personally, I find these luxury trim level seats to be super comfortable. You can do a lot of miles on this. Although I will say, if they had moved the suede to the center insert, I think that would make the seat a bit more comfortable, because usually when you have the suede in the middle, it just gives your back just a softer feel, I guess. But this is fine the way they have done it. And because this is the top shelf model, we have heated and ventilated seats for both the front and the rear occupants. We have the massive screen with the wireless Apple CarPlay and the Android Auto. Everything works great, although I will mention with this new generation of Lexus, all of your HVAC is essentially implemented into your screen, which I'm not a big fan of, but the ergonomics and the ease of use is rather excellent with this screen. This is one of the easier infotainments out there. Plus, I do like the physical dial to adjust your temperature. Digital gauge cluster, that takes some getting used to. And at first, I was not a big fan of the heads-up display, but now I've kind of become accustomed to it. When you're trying to change your music track, all you have to do is run your fingers across this left touchpad, and immediately on the heads-up display, you will see a bunch of various commands that you can choose from, to change your track, to pick up a phone call. You can do all of that. But if you find the heads-up display to be distracting, you can of course turn it off, and instead your track selection and everything, it'll begin to show up on the digital gauge cluster when you run your fingers over that left pad. But speaking of music, We do have here the Mark Levinson audio system. That is definitely a recommended option on these RX models. One of the best audio systems that you can get. You will not be disappointed with this. The clarity, the clean bass line, all of that is excellent with this Mark Levinson. I'm not a big fan of this piano black finish that they have shrouding the front air vents and the infotainment screen. That kind of detracts from the premium feel of this cabin. I wish they would have used like a matte finished material for that. We do have a wireless charging pad here. I mean, you have like really 3 spots where you can put a cell phone, so that's nice. And the wireless charging pad, you only get one, but it is rather reliable and it does a good job charging my phone. You have 2 cup holders, you have a 360 camera here, very nice high quality cameras, and you have the top tier safety tech and the Lexus safety systems. They work rather well. You have a ton of space with this center armrest. The glove box is okay, but we have, all the manuals in there for right now. You have USB-C ports all throughout, and you have 1 USB-A port in the front here. I appreciate this suede headlining material. Certainly adds a premium touch to the cabin. And we have a massive pano moonroof here. Regarding the rear seats, I am 5'11". I can easily get in and out. And sitting behind myself, I have plenty of space. The overall size and packaging of the RX is truly excellent, and that's the reason why this is one of Lexus's best-selling vehicles in the lineup. And the seats continue to be comfortable back there. They are heated and cooled, as mentioned before. You also have a manual sunshade in the back as well, along with your own air vents. You do, of course, have the electric doors, which is pretty much unnecessary, but in case of an emergency, you can just pull on the lever and open the door manually, so that's good. And the rear trunk is massive, plus the electronic tailgate, when you have it set to the maximum height level, I mean, you can be rather tall and still be able to stand up straight under that tailgate. However, with these top-of-the-line models, if you ever want to put down the rear seats, you have to do it electronically. I would rather just do it manually. It's faster and less complicated. But I noticed that we do not have a spare tire here with this plug-in hybrid. That is rather unfortunate. I guess you could just run flat tires here. We don't have them here with this vehicle, although I'm not a big fan of the tires that Lexus has put on this SUV, so I would think about swapping them regardless. Even though this is a Bridgestone tire, I'm not a big fan of it. There are other run-flat Bridgestone tires that I find to be a much better performing option than what we have here. And I think there are some random Pirelli run-flat tires that I found to have good performance as well. But overall, that's my look at the 2025 RX 450h Plus. Let's go ahead and let's conclude this review. Okay, concluding thoughts on the plug-in hybrid 2025 RX. Overall, I am a fan. This is a good luxury SUV package for a lot of consumers. I also personally like this redesign. I think it looks really good, really sharp, and it certainly stands out amongst its generic European rivals. But comment below, let me know your thoughts regarding the looks of this SUV. I understand it can be a bit polarizing to some, but I like it. Plus, with this red paint finish, it does attract a lot of attention. So I do like the fun colors that Lexus provides us with. I like the overall interior quality, the seats, the infotainment is easy to use. You have a lot of good space in here. There's nothing to overly knock regarding the driving quality of this. I like the easy hovercraft sensation that this RX is trying to provide. And around town, this feels absolutely tranquil. Again, as mentioned before, you can be doing like 20 miles an hour over the speed limit and not even realize it. And something else I forgot to mention during my drive was the high-speed stability of this. I mean, we had some crazy wind gusts here and a lot of inclement weather. I had this thing at like triple-digit speeds, and the stability was surprisingly really good. So yeah, I really put this thing through its paces, and it responded rather well. I was shocked by that. No, this is not like a Porsche Cayenne or anything, but that's what I'm saying. Your everyday handling qualities are pretty good here. It's just that, a lot of these newer Lexus products, they simply lost that special sauce. You would have to be an owner of a previous generation Lexus to know what I'm talking about here. But yeah, I guess there's technically nothing crazy to fault here. Perhaps you can say that the engine is a bit unrefined when you're accelerating, but hey, this is a lot better than that regular hybrid that I got to review. And this SUV, it performed well in the rain. And overall, this is an IIHS top safety pick. So yeah, the overall confidence that you have with this SUV, it is rather good, and the Lexus dealer support in the United States tends to be top tier as well. But overall, that's my look at the 2025 Lexus RX plug-in hybrid. Make sure to check out this video I have on the end screen here if you're interested in saving a substantial amount of money off the new RX. Thanks again for watching, take care, and have a blessed day.